Alright, this is where I'm supposed to say, what is up, guys? We're here with another exciting show. And today we're going to talk about and learn about another body system. And today it's the respiratory system turn. That's where you breathe, and the oxygen that you take in and the CO2 that you breathe out. So let's take a look, and we're going to kind of go over the parts of the respiratory system and the function of it, and why do you have it? Why does it work the way it does, and why do we have it? So here's just an illustration of just the different parts. It's just sort of like a cartoon drawing. So here's an opening, a cavity, a sinus in your nose and in your mouth. These are airways, so air can come in through these pathways. Here's your pharynx. That's the kind of back of the throat area. Here's your larynx that contains your vocal cords. Here's the trachea. It's a hard tube that goes down and meets, well, I don't want to say it meets your lungs because that's not totally true, because you have these branching tubes here that are your bronchioles that connect this trachea to these purple things, which are your lungs. And if you zoom way, and you'll have these little things called alveoli, which I think sounds like you're saying ravioli. It's not. Ravioli, give me the alveoli. Okay, sorry, not sorry, I guess. Okay, so let's look at how air goes from here into here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the pathway of air. Where does it go? And it says air and not oxygen, because when you breathe in, all the air that's around you, you're breathing that in. So you breathe in, what's the air mostly made out of? Nitrogen, oxygen, but you're also breathing in carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. You're breathing in fungal spores, bacteria, viruses, smoke, literally any particulate or molecule that's in the air around you, you're going to breathe in. So you're breathing in air. Our bodies use the oxygen we breathe in, even though you're breathing in whatever's in the air. So my head's in the way, surprise. So we have our nasal cavity. So air enters your body through your nose. Most of the time, you don't usually sit there and, unless you're tired and been running for a while. And then your nose and your nasal passages are lined with mucus and cilia. So the cells in your nose have cilia to kind of filter out junk, warm the air so it's not so cold when you come in, and moisten it so it keeps it moist. Everyone's favorite word, moist. So inside of your body is moist, including your lungs. They need to be moist. There's not a better word. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with moist. In order to pick up the oxygen. Then it goes to your pharynx. Here it is right here, the green arrow. So that's like the oral cavity. So your mouth and nose kind of connect back there. And when you breathe through your mouth, air is going to go right into the pharynx. So, if you're panting and breathing, it's going to go directly into the pharynx right away. Then it travels down to your trachea. That's the main airway. So it's the big highway where all the air comes into and travels down. There's a lot of cartilage, so tough tissue cartilage that keeps the trachea open. So it can't just squeeze it closed, or can't, when you lay down, it doesn't just kind of collapse in onto itself. It keeps it open. That's important. Otherwise, you could die, and you could suffocate easily, and you don't want that. Then you have your larynx. Sometimes people will call that the voice box. It contains these cords that vibrate, that allow us to speak. So here it's made of cartilage. It's at the very top of the trachea. So yeah, this is if we were doing this in class. So when air passes over it, it vibrates. So if you hum, you can put your hand, if you're talking right here, you can feel this vibrating. That's your larynx. Okay, so this vibrates when air passes through it. And humans are really cool because we can vibrate it in a certain way, and it's speech. We're pretty cool. Then you have the epiglottis. Now the epiglottis is really cool. Watch it right here. Watch it work. Okay, it's this pointy flap, and when you swallow, it flaps down and covers your trachea. So food goes down your esophagus, not into your trachea and then into your lungs. Thanks, epiglottis. Then you have your bronchi. They're also ringed with cartilage, and they sort of split off. So it's like you have the main highway of the trachea, and then it splits into the little roads called the bronchi, and they branch off into your lungs. So then they become smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can think of this as like I-95, or you can think of it as a big busy road, and it branches off into the smaller and smaller and smaller highways. And when you finally get, by the way, bronchi is plural, and a bronchus is singular. These words come from Latin, where singular and plural words are different than us. We just added s. Okay, so bronchi is the two. Okay, so it'll extend into these bronchioles, which are smaller and smaller and smaller, and then finally, am I going backwards? Sorry. And then finally, you'll get to the alveoli. That's like your driveway. There's tons and tons of these little sacs, and these alveoli are like a little sac or a little bubble, and it's got lots of capillaries in there, blood vessels that are all connected and bundled up there. Why? Your blood carries oxygen and carbon dioxide. So when you breathe in, the blood vessels that are in these alveoli are grabbing up this oxygen, but they're also dropping off all the carbon dioxide. So after you breathe in, what happens? You breathe out. So your alveoli are like the place where the delivery driver is going to pick up all the new oxygen, all the good packages, and drop off all the outgoing packages. That's the CO2. That's why after you breathe in, you breathe out. And that's why when you hold your breath, you really want to breathe. It's almost less of your body yelling for oxygen, more of like, look, we got all this carbon dioxide. This is like a poison. You got to get this out of us, like now. So that's the job of the alveoli. Here's a really good picture of one. Do you see all the capillaries all around the little bubble, the alveoli? So oxygen leaves the alveoli and goes into the blood, and then the CO2 leaves the capillaries and goes into the alveoli, and we breathe it out. So here's another picture of that. So here's an alveoli and the air coming in and out. The air coming in is rich in oxygen, and coming out it's got more CO2. We actually don't use all of the oxygen we breathe in. The air is about 20% oxygen. We don't get all 20% when we breathe in. We're not 100% efficient. So when you breathe out, there's actually some oxygen that leaves as well. Let's think back. Why do we need oxygen? Why do we need this body system? Your body uses the oxygen in respiration, the respiratory system. Wasn't that just breathing? No, remember, respiration is taking sugar, our food, and oxygen and turning that into energy. That's why your body needs the oxygen. And that's where the CO2 comes from. It's a waste product that your body makes after you make energy. Okay, so this is the delivery system to bring in the oxygen and send out the CO2. The other delivery system for this is your digestive system to bring in the sugars. And then how do those get to the cells? Well, that's the circulatory system. They're the transport system. So they're like the delivery trucks bringing the sugar that's in the plasma and the oxygen that's carried by the red blood cells to and from everything. Remember, blood isn't actually blue. It's a dark, dark red, almost like a purpley maroon red when it's full of CO2, and it's that bright crimson red when it's full of oxygen, like if you cut yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that, by the way. Just saying. So here's another look at how your body changes when you breathe in and out. When you inhale, this thing at the bottom when you hiccup called the diaphragm, it's a muscle, will kind of push down, and it will suck in the air. And then when you exhale, that diaphragm gets pushed up and the air comes out. So it's kind of like you're like squeezing a balloon almost and blowing it up. By the way, just saying, don't smoke. Don't do that. Don't put anything in your lungs that shouldn't be there. Okay, like, aside from whatever you think about anything, it dries out your lungs, it adds tar, it adds bad chemicals, and you won't be able to breathe. You need that for energy so you can live. Please don't smoke. It's just not good. It causes a lot of health problems throughout your whole life. Okay, don't do it. That's not me, clearly. This is another person who's holding a diseased lung and a healthy lung. You don't want your lungs to look like burnt steak, okay? No one likes it well done like that, okay? Medium rare, gang. All right, so just saying, please don't smoke. I know people who are like, don't smoke, kids, drugs are bad, okay? Like, there's a reason. There's a reason why you shouldn't smoke, okay? And it's not because parents don't want you to have fun. It's because we want you to live, okay? I want you to live, okay? If we were here,